Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Place in the Middle podcast. My name is Amy.
And I'm Butter, and today we are going to talk about spouses or just like future partner.
Guys, can you tell that we're literally out of it? We film our podcast like after New Year's once.
Right, sorry. It's not very like not every Tuesday. It's on the Tuesday that we can make it happen.
Yeah, life happens, and
Sorry, but this year has already started rough.
yeah,
Rough start.
we had a rough January. We were hoping it would end.
Yes. I have very low expectations for this year that way that if something good happens, I'll be like, "Wow." Lowering
Yeah.
my standards and just kind of like taking it as it comes.
I'm just exhausted.
Me too.
I
Like
don't know what's going on within there. It's weird.
it's been an interesting start to this year already.
Yeah.
But anyways, this podcast we're gonna talk about future. Well, for me, future spouse, like what I look for. But for Amy, I guess kind of how like she ended up with her fiance kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just with our like multicultural background, some people were really curious to see like what our takes is on that, like having a what we look for in our future
Yeah.
spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up a little bit different, which is very interesting, I think. Like
Yeah.
for a start, I don't look for Thai people, like people Thai guys who have never been outside the country or don't have any like international influences.
Mm-hmm.
Just not anything against them, but it's just so much harder to relate.
I think it's a language barrier as well.
Very
I think like
yeah.
because I know that since I started like like writing and reading and conversing in English,
Yeah.
since I was little, my vocabulary grew so much. Like just explaining how you're feeling,
Right.
there are so many words. It's not just I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough Thai words to like explain how I feel.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of the reason.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even well, I definitely don't know enough vocabularies in Thai to begin with
Yeah.
to go deep on topics.
Right.
Just up until this last year, I could barely complete a sentence in Thai
Right.
without like adding some English words in it
Mm-hmm.
or thinking like what is that word in Thai or something like that. So that was one of the criterias where I thought, okay, he has to have some like international influences but also speak in English, so we like at a really
Right.
good level
Right.
to where we can talk about deeper things
Right.
in English, and we can do some in Thai, but that wouldn't be our main language.
Right.
Yeah. So like how about you? Like you're gonna you tell me like
Okay,
how
so
you
basically how I met my now fiance
mm-hmm.
is he goes to my church
Mhm.
and he's like Thai,
Mm-hmm.
which was a very surprising element to me.
Mm.
But I think you mentioned on the part where like that person, like for me, the person that I was going to date like needed to be have an open mind,
Yep.
as in like because honestly like I'm not a Thai girl that people would expect either.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny because I was like I went to a wedding the other day
Mm.
and I was talking to like some other friends there
Yeah.
and I realized how different I am from like typical Thai girls, which is like no diss to them at all.
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm just pretty different. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it's so funny, and but we also have like different values, I think, and I think for me, to my fiance never really lived abroad, but he traveled before.
Mm.
Like there he didn't travel much, you know.
Mhm.
It's but uh he he know other languages.
Oh, okay.
I think that's one of the things that really helped me because sometimes I would speak to him in English and sometimes he wouldn't understand, but I would be able to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes like I can explain it in Thai, but sometimes I like mix some English words into
Yeah.
that. And yeah, literally I had this like thought just now
Mhm.
that I think one of the things people ask me like what I love the most about like my fiance,
Mhm.
and I realized like how consistent he is.
Mm.
I realized like whatever he says he would do,
Oh, uh-huh.
and I think my whole life has been really hard growing up in like an international setting where like people say things too lightly and they don't take it seriously.
Right.
So I think that's why I'm like, oh, I value words so much
Mm-hmm.
that like once you go through with what you say, I know that I can trust you.
Right.
You know? So I think that's one thing. He's very consistent. He's very like um if he says he's gonna like do this, he will do it.
Mm.
Unless it's like an emergency or things like that. So
Yeah.
I think he's very trustworthy.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing I really look for in like a guy.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is that's important. I would
Yeah.
yeah, I'm same way as like if you're gonna tell me something like you're gonna do and you don't do it, I think that's the most disappointing part for me is like
Right.
I took that very seriously.
Yeah.
But for you, you just said it maybe like in passing.
Yeah.
But I think that was important for me. Like people keep consistent with what they're going with what
Yeah.
they say.
Uh-huh.
Um.
I remember in the beginning of like our relationship because like um Asian people have their own time of doing things,
Mm-hmm.
right? They come
Yeah.
late, they like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's not a like a punctual person either. But for me, being punctual is like a respect to
Yep.
somebody.
Mhm.
So I remember having that conversation with him. Like, I'm like, honestly, like, I'm not even asking you to be on time, but at least communicate with
Yep.
me. Like, hey, I'm about to leave the house. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Like, you know, or the kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And from that moment on, I knew that he understood like my, I think like how I feel respected and loved.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't until from that day on until today, like he whenever he come pick me up to go somewhere, he would text me when he's leaving his place.
Yeah, that's
Which
really
is like
nice.
I think like we learn to accommodate each other as well.
Yep.
Like, you know, we need to adjust when you're
Yeah.
like in a relationship with somebody, and especially with, I wouldn't say different background. We do have different backgrounds, but I think it's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how you feel love is totally different too. Like
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
time-wise, I feel like we adapted that from like our Western influence
Mm-hmm.
because like for me, I was taught like if you're on time, then you're late.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're early, then you're on time.
Yeah.
And that has been the mindset that has always been stuck with me.
Right.
And then when I went to study in the States, like I knew that they were all punctual. Like if you say 4 o'clock, you should be there at 4 o'clock or a
Yeah.
little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So then I knew that was the way I respected people.
Yeah.
And so then that was just ingrained in me. So then
Yeah.
now coming back to Thailand, I know Thai people are usually not on time.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to keep that open-minded, but also kind of hold myself accountable to like I'm
Right.
not gonna adjust to that level like
Of yeah.
time,
Right.
but I'm gonna just well I'm already like this. Like if we said 4, I'm gonna be there around 4. Like unless I'm late, then I might text you and be like, hey, I'm stuck in traffic. Things
Yeah.
came up like somehow. And I try to be as like on time as possible, if not even early.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like maybe that became like a more important like value for me than I imagined because I feel like that's how people show me that they care.
Right.
Like that
Exactly.
I'm worth it for you to try to be on time for.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's not even like in a partner, but in like friendships even. It's okay if we come late. Tell me.
Yeah. Exactly. Like communicate. You know?
Yeah. Don't
I
just show up late and me thinking like, did she forget?
Yeah.
Or like, are they gonna come? Or things
Yeah.
like that. Another value for me is not a value, but like I realize like dating and stuff that our values have to match to a certain level.
Right. Right. I mean, there are things that you compromise, but there are
Yes.
things that you stand firm on.
Right.
I
Like
mean, yeah.
in things that are like value, like if I value time, okay, I'm a little bit more lenient. Like
Me
I
too.
can make
Yeah.
it more flexible
Right.
if you just kind of communicate with me.
Yeah.
But then there are some other values where I realize like, these are non-negotiable values that like we have to be on the same page for.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even if
Yeah.
our cultural background is different, like there's a level of like religion. I think even like just being like a Christian is like non-negotiable.
I think having the same faith really,
Right.
I mean, honestly, that what helps strengthen like my relationship with my fiance.
Yeah, because then
And
you can
since the
talk
beginning.
about
Yeah.
all the things.
There are things in common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, like in the beginning, that was the only thing that I had in common with my my boyfriend then.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. We're so like
So
we're so opposite.
interesting.
Yeah.
Then why did you decide to like date him? Like what about like if that was the only thing that was in common, like what kind of drew you?
I think it was church that we had in common, but at
Mhm.
the same time, like when I was talking, so we didn't just like go on dates, but basically what happened was um during COVID,
Mhm.
we didn't have church. So everything was
Oh yeah.
online. So during that time, usually at church we have like Bible study and cell groups and stuff. And we see people like so much.
Mm.
You know, I have cell group once a week, and then I see them at like worship practice on like Saturday night, and then we also see each other on Sunday.
So you see
So
them
like
all.
I
Yeah.
see them quite often. I see people
Yeah.
at church quite often, and to be cut off from all that, even though I'm like introverts,
Yeah.
it still feels so weird.
Yeah, that because you've been doing that so many days a week and then just
Yeah,
have none at
and
all.
my whole life basically.
Yeah.
You know? And so what happened was we have this Discord, you know what Discord is, right?
No.
It's basically the software where usually gamers use.
Oh, okay.
So when they play games, they can have a voice chat instead of using the one on the game because it's not very stable.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, but nowadays like people I use like Discord for my freelance work as well. People
Mm.
switch to that because like it's quite stable and it's quite nice, and you can have like different conversation all at the same time.
Oh.
Just different like
Talking.
you can do talking, you can do texting as well.
Okay.
And everything is not deleted after a while. I know there are some applications that deletes
Oh,
messages.
yeah.
You have to pay for it basically. But basically, one of our friend like created this Discord so we can play like games together. Actual like, you know, I play like PUBG, like shooting games.
Uh-huh.
And during that time, like that was the only community I had apart from
Mm.
like my family,
Yeah.
you know? And every night at like 10 p.m. we would play.
Everybody
We're
get
like,
on.
let's go. Everybody would get on. And like I know that like during one game only 4 people can play, and there's more
Oh,
of us
okay.
in there. So we
Oh.
would split into 2 games, or some of us would like you can actually go in and watch the game,
Oh, okay.
and we would just like have conversations during that time. So it starts at 10 at night and we end at like midnight, right? Every single
That's
day.
fun.
Yeah. And that's how I already knew who he was,
Yeah.
but I never had a conversation with him because
Yeah.
like I'm a pastor's kid. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna talk to me at
Yeah.
church. Like, you know, I don't really have friends.
Yeah.
That's another trauma we should talk about. But so during that time I get to have like a, you know, friendship with him in like the friends group. But the thing is, people are like, hey, you had to be careful because you're the only two singles in there. Like all of them already dating.
Oh.
And I didn't think much of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And then, you know,
yeah.
like we were talking about like just random things. Like I remember at one point we talked about like Myers-Briggs, like personality test. It was really fun. And then we talked about like random things. And then he had like a problem with our mutual friends, and I knew the other person really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So he was asking me for advice and those kind of stuff. And I think that kind of started our conversation.
Yeah.
And I
Made you
think like
closer?
I think it nobody really like um made the first move, I guess. I mean
You
high
just
school-
kind of like became friends.
exactly.
And then
Like,
got
we-
closer.
exactly. Our conversation just clicked.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I decided like, hey, I want to know this guy more.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's
It's
how
so
we start-
natural.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm not going on like dating apps and like
No.
swiping, you know?
No.
So I think, I mean, nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah.
I think for me, it would have been, if it happened more organically, it would make me feel, I think, a little bit more safe.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened. And then, you know, during COVID, he's also in the worship team, so I would see him once in a while in person,
Yeah.
which is very weird to see somebody like, I'm not online dating him, but I kind of am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I know who you are in real life, but I've never like see you in a setting where we're already like talking.
When did you
Okay.
When did you start dating him? My earring came off.
We were the COVID couple. Like I started dating him in 2020.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
so we were going on 5 years this year.
Okay. Like was there a point where you're like, okay, let's date?
Yeah. It's we just had a conversation, and I knew, I was like, yeah, let's just date.
Was it like hard to decide? Like
It wasn't hard for us to decide, but I think like with in Asian culture, especially for me, like I think I'm also a type of person where I need approval from my family. Like I'm just that type of person
Yeah.
where like I want you to know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like they were like, I was so scared that they're gonna take it wrongly,
How?
as in like they'll be like, "Hey, you shouldn't do this person." I
Oh,
was really
really?
scared because that
Oh,
happened
in the past.
in the past.
Oh, okay.
But then I
Like they
mean,
had an opinion on who you
exactly,
date
and
too.
I think like my parents changed as well. They weren't like they were more open than I thought. Because I mean, I don't know how old. I don't know how old was I 5 years ago.
Oh my god.
Anyways, 26,
26?
25.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, I was mature enough. I was already working.
Yeah.
I created trust with my parents as well.
Yeah.
So I remember the day that we decided to like start pursuing each other.
Yeah.
The next day I woke up and I told my parents right away.
Uh,
Even though I was scared, I was gonna poop my pants. Like
I know
I
what
t-
you yeah.
I told my parents and then I told my older brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my older brother and his wife.
Yeah.
Because
Did-
I mean they're like leadership there are leaders in church as well.
yeah.
So I'm like, you know what?
Just let them know.
I just
Like why would it be in hiding? Like this is something to be, like
exactly.
that they could come around you and like help you too.
Exactly. And I'm like, if I'm not gonna hide this from the beginning because I'm too lazy to hide it.
Right.
Number one, because it takes so much energy.
Uh-huh. And we ain't got that energy.
And
Just
then
do
I
what
don't want to
you-
have that conversation if they find out from somebody else.
Yes.
You know, I'm like, you better find out from me and
Yep.
nobody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be me first.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it happened.
And were they like, okay?
They
were
were
they
hesitant
hesitant?
about it. I mean, obviously, I'm the only daughter.
Yeah.
I'm like the only sister. You know.
Yeah.
So the first year we did a lot of like damage control. I'm not gonna lie, with our relationship from other people. People have questions. People ask, but they didn't ask us.
Interesting.
Like they were like talking, and they were talking
Among themselves?
about us among themselves, trying to figure out like the answers without asking us. I was working with like the youth group during that time, and you
Oh.
know how like dating is a very like ooh kind of thing. Like they needed to
They
know.
want to know, yeah.
Exactly.
They like
So
it.
I literally went to the ones that I know that they're talking.
Wow.
I went to them. I'm like, if you have any questions, just ask me. I will tell you everything, like how it happened, who he is, and those
Mhm.
kind of stuff. I'm like, you've seen him in church, you know
Yeah.
who he is. So I give them that chance to like, hey, like it's okay to talk about it,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm like, I think especially in like Thai culture and like Christian especially, we were not taught to go on dates, and we just ignore that whole part of dating.
Mhm.
And at one point, people ask like, when are you getting married? And I'm like, I don't
But-
know.
yeah, yeah.
I
Let
don't-
me date first.
Exactly.
Let
and
me
like,
get to know this
but
guy.
then they're like, don't date. And I'm like, huh? Why? So I get very confused.
yeah.
So I think like my hope in that for the future is that that whole situation would be dealt with it better.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, like it's okay to actually get to know a person. And I honestly believe that like I know a lot of people believe that if you're not dating for marriage is a waste of time.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, honestly, I'm just learning how to be human and interact with people.
Right.
Yeah, and if it clicks, it clicks. And it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't have to be that you know, we break up and like it will go bad.
Yeah.
Because I know that like I still kept like a distant relationship with like people that I dated, and we still see each other,
Mm.
and I'm okay with it.
yeah.
And you know, we keep that distance of
Yeah.
like, hey, this is my boundaries.
Yeah.
And yeah, I established that, and they know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's okay. You can like
Yeah.
you can coexist in the same place. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to like if one person shows up and the other person had to leave. I think that's so bad.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah.
Which I think that was like kind of you for you to open up to the church like that much,
Mhm.
because I think it's a personal relationship, like it's a private
It is.
like relationship that honestly you don't need to go in and be like share. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
I think that was something I think that you were like kind enough to open that up for your church members to ask, but to but that doesn't make it like a right for them to know. Do you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like you gave them the privilege to know,
Mhm.
but like that doesn't mean like they deserve that
Yeah.
and stuff. And so I think you created a good example in showing them like what dating could look like for them as
Right.
if they grow up and have their own like
Uh-huh.
boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And to show like this is how it could be for you too. This is healthy and stuff like that, like setting a good example. But, I think I don't really know if people really have the right to be questioning or an opinion about your relationship.
Right.
It's your relationship,
Exactly.
And
I think
yeah.
I just did it out of respect because I'm also a pastor's kid.
Yes.
And I know that like people already have opinions of who I should date,
Yeah.
who that person should look like.
Right.
And when sometimes like when that doesn't match their expectation, they get mad and I'm like, so who's dating? I get so confused.
I think like there is a level of yeah, like you said, an expectation on how we're supposed to be, and
Mhm.
then like how I don't even know for like future spouse wise, but like for me, I feel like an expectation of um how I'm supposed to conduct myself. Being,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
like my dad, like is like he's the oldest in our church, right? And so
Right.
like there's a level of respect.
So
Like I
he's one
grew
of
up in
like
the
the elders
church.
kind of deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like he like I grew up in the church. These people see me. I think there is a level that I feel of like I have to be a certain way to
I'm the
be
same way.
to
Yeah.
be not oh I don't really know if to say to be accepted, but to be that child that they want us to be.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
And they get mad if we're not that way. It's like they're what are they?
Yeah.
Creating a character for us?
Yeah, exactly.
I get yeah, I think that's one of the biggest struggle that I think I had to like overcome
Mm,
for me to actually date somebody.
that's interesting.
Like I knew that I had to like be okay with for them to not be okay, and I
Mhm.
think that I struggle with that a lot. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was a people pleaser.
Yeah, me
I
too.
would let people like walk all over me,
Me
and I'll
too.
be what they want me to be. And I realized I lost myself in that.
Me too. Like I
Yeah.
just was whatever everybody wanted to be.
Exactly.
And
I'm
so then
like,
I was the perfect child for
me
them.
too.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I could no, I can do everything they say, but then at one point, you kind of lost your sense of self. Like, and people are like, "Oh, just be who you are," and I'm like, I don't even know who I am.
Mhm.
Like, it's really hard because I've
Mhm.
been thinking who I was what they've been telling me.
Yeah.
I never figure it out by myself.
Right. Like whatever
Yeah.
they complimented you on, I would think, oh, then that's me.
Exactly.
That's what I'm good at, so then
Yeah.
that's what I am,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And that was hard because I feel like performance was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't just be, and then people would love me for just being me.
Yeah.
But that like, oh, you talk really well, so then like you teach really well, so then that's, so then that's my like that's my identity. That's part of my identity.
Identity?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a lot harder, like in maybe growing up, like in church for us
Mhm.
too. Of we people please, because I don't know. I think that's just part of growing up like that. I think there's an expectation people have on us,
Yeah.
and then there is a higher level of I feel like gang die on us. Even though, like for me, like I want to be friends with you, but they're very gang die to be friends with me.
Yeah, I actually like I still struggle with that at church actually. Like I would see them like hanging out
Yeah.
and not invite me.
Uh.
And I'm like, interesting. Like I think I got to the point where like I'm sad about it.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I'm mad about it.
No,
I don't
yeah.
think I've gotten to that part.
Mm.
But I think I was just very like disappointed that
Yeah.
like
Why can't I join?
exactly. And yeah, it's been rough.
I get that. Like I even this is like a constant struggle for me. Like it's gotten better, but I don't think it ever goes away. Of
No, I don't think so.
like you like even in church I can feel it, right? Like I think maybe because I'm such an anxious person, but I can feel people's vibes more. And like I want to be your friend and I try talking to you, but I know there's a level, like a wall you put up when you gang die so much
Yeah.
towards me, even though we're closer to the same age. Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know.
and some people are even older than me, but since they came in the church later than I did, they know like my place in the church kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, like gang die,
Uh
and so
I don't know. It's just this whole thing with like the invisible hierarchy in church
mm,
really just we just need to understand that we're just all human trying to figure out our relationship with God and just wade through life and like whereas just because we're born in a certain type of family where we have our own problems that we have to deal with.
right.
And I feel like we can't compare problems. Yeah, of
No.
course there are some things that are worse, but like,
Yeah.
I think we're just trying.
Right. And yeah. So I think with that, like just values church. I mean, like for us, I think it's very important that we have the same values in that way.
Yeah.
Other things I think about like language wise, that was really important. I thought it was like basic, but I realized my Thai at one point was not at a level
Yeah.
where
I
I
mean,
could do
I
much.
can see that like I honestly would be okay with like dating a Thai guy that can actually like converse in English.
Definitely,
And I
yes.
honestly, I nowadays, like that person doesn't even need to be like an international school student. Like
Yes.
I honestly think that like now people are so smart and they actually can converse in a full English and like understand you.
Yes.
You know, people. I mean, because of social media and like
Exactly.
people are so much more like cultured and just
Mm-hmm.
their worldview is so widened.
Yeah.
It's not just here anymore. You know?
Exactly, which I think is really good. Somebody mentioned it to me a while back saying, um, the new generation kids these days, whether you go to international school or not, because of the social media influence, they pick up so much of
Exactly.
language and culture and things like that to the point where they're able to speak in English and like learn just as much.
Exactly.
And so I thought, oh, okay, so I feel like if it was a Thai person who spoke in English has like a wider worldview, no problem. It's just I
Yeah.
needed that aspect to be really
Yeah. And I think like
solid.
in the topic of like open-minded, I think that one of the most important thing
Mhm.
for me is that that person is not entitled.
Yeah, like you
I
know it all.
exactly. It's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. I think the entitlement just really turns me off. It's
Me
just
too.
I'm just like
Like I like the aspect of like you know and you share like a sharing perspective
yeah, and
instead of like well I know so then I know better than you that vibe.
I think the staying curious part
Mm,
is very important to me. I'm like,
yes,
yeah,
staying curious and like even if you have like other perspective like you've been to other countries things like that they're realizing there is still so much more I don't know and I need to learn
exactly,
you know and so I don't know it all
exactly.
and so that humbling mindset a little bit when you go into some like when you speak to people I think yeah I think that's really important for me as well.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Of how I don't know. I was just thinking, like, do you think that like our upbringings and like our small t traumas has been like
Little
kind of
things,
shaping us into who we look for?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
I was just thinking about that. I'm like, this is wild.
I'm sure it does because then we think
Yeah,
like you know the things we don't like about the way we grow, we would be like, I'm not going to. I think those things are even more of a like red flags for us, don't you think?
yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah.
you see it when you see it, then you're like, no, I'm
I
not
think we're
even.
just more careful in terms of like if we see things that has been hurting us or hurting the people we love in the past
Mm-hmm.
to like
And that
really
I
look for
think
that.
is smart. That's like wisdom.
Right.
To be hurt again by the same thing that you hurt for before is like not careful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like for me, even like in friendships and like those kind of things, because of how I was hurt in the past, I'm more careful now. Like, now I'm not gonna put my whole self out there all the time.
Yeah.
I will only open up to people who I feel like, all right, I'm willing to take that risk.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know?
and it's kind of like sometimes you don't know the and like the results of the other side,
Yeah.
but you still take risks anyways.
Like I would think to myself, okay, this is worth it to try,
Yeah.
even though I know it could hurt,
Yeah.
but the consequence, not the consequences, but not trying, I
It's
think would be
worse.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that regret of like you wish it
Yes.
would have could have happened, you
Yes.
know? Yeah.
And to be honest, I like I don't know, I've never dated someone like long enough, but even in friendships I realize even if we had like complete opposite personalities, sometimes it works. Like
It's true.
if you make the effort, like they
Uh-huh.
are worth it. Like in a friendship, like they're worth it and you're like I don't know, like you're
Just having
willing.
enough respects for each other.
Yeah.
I honestly think like respect is a big thing
Hmm.
that like I mean there are some things you're not gonna enable your friends to like do
Hmm.
crimes and those kind of
Hmm.
stuff, obviously.
Hmm.
But I realize like a lot of my friends are not like the same as me, which I love because I'm like,
Yeah.
if you surrounded yourself with the same people, same mindset, you're not gonna grow.
No. Then
Yeah,
you would then they would just support you in whatever you think is right or wrong and not a different
exactly,
perspective.
exactly. I need people to like tell me to like, hey, you can't like
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
like
I hate those.
Like slap
but
me
yes.
out of like
Yeah.
this whole craziness, and like I need to go back into conscience kind of deal.
Yes.
It sucks, but like
Yes.
you know that like those type of people are the people that you need to keep in your life.
Yeah. How they treat their family, I think is also important.
Mm.
Like that's a value. Like maybe growing. I think every country there is a level of respect towards family.
Yeah.
But I feel like in Asian culture there is a higher level of respect towards parents
Yeah.
and like the way you care and the way you do things with them. So for me,
Yeah.
like I hope like with the future spouse would want to spend time with my parents too.
Oh yeah.
Like that it would be something that they wouldn't try to avoid. But
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
actually could be
Yeah.
like this is family time. Like we're really close.
I think like we put big values on like families and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get it. I think like because I know that like for me and my family, like as I grew older, we
Mhm.
became so much more like tight.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. When we were little, you don't even know that kind of stuff.
When we were little, my sister and I barely talked. Like
Really?
it
Wait, that's
was
so
really hard.
surprising to me. I thought
Really?
you guys were really close. Yeah.
We were so different. Got older and now I'm like I just way tighter. Like our relationship's so
Oh
good
yeah,
now.
100%.
And maybe growing up more helps a lot, but like I don't know, I think it was just at one point we just clicked, like our wavelength thing kind of just like matched.
Yeah.
And then it's now we like text random stuff to each other.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's cuz for me, like growing up I was fighting a lot with my younger brother.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. You know, we're only like a year apart, so we're like we wanted to like unalive each other kind
Yeah,
of deal.
yeah, yeah. Unalive each other.
It's just so annoying. So like sometimes like he annoys me and
Yes.
I annoy him and
Yeah.
those kind of stuff. But now like I'm so close to him.
Mhm.
Like my wedding is not gonna happen if he's not here kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where it is now. And it's so funny because like I'm so tight to his wife as well.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
so good. Like
I
if you
know.
can get along with your in-laws too, I feel like that just makes it so much better. Like then you're not losing. It's not like you're losing your brother, but like you gaining
Exactly.
someone else.
And it's so funny because like when I was in the States, like his wife's family like took me in during Christmas. So I'm
Aw.
tight to their family too.
That's really
and like
cool.
I'm inviting them all of them to like my wedding.
Oh yeah,
And like
because they're so tight.
I
yeah.
was like talking to her, I was like, I'm so worried that like they're not gonna understand like
oh
the wedding ceremony,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. And she was like, honestly, they're just gonna be happy that they're there. I'm like, you know what? Just enjoy it, okay?
yeah. I think
Yeah.
that would be good. I think
Yeah.
they're just happy to be there. Like
Exactly.
that you invited them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Did you ever think of like outer appearances as like a like definitely has to be like this, like a certain
Not really. I never really thought of it,
Hmm.
but from seeing like from who I've been dating, there has been like
same, like similar?
what is it called?
Huh.
Do you know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like there are similar
Yeah,
things.
patterns.
Patterns.
Like like you end up with like somebody with the same like similar things.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I do have a type. I didn't figure that out until like, I guess like you know when you think about it,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, I do have a type. Oh yeah, it's so weird.
I the one thing for me is like I need him to be taller,
Okay, so that's like like the thing,
like a
for you.
physical value.
Yeah.
Like I hope that he's taller than me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's just that was something that I keep
Mm.
coming back to. Like, he has to be taller than me.
Okay. That's
Before
valid.
this, I thought like he had to be older than me,
Mm-hmm.
maybe for maturity or something. Like I always think like for maturity they should be older, but some people who are younger are very mature.
Honestly, some younger people are more mature than me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So then I thought, then now it's like kind of like it's just depends on your maturity level. It's not really age. Age
Exactly.
doesn't mean anything for maturity.
Exactly.
So I thought, well,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Is your fiance older?
Yes, by 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like he told me like from all the people I've dated,
Hmm.
you're probably one of the few that like are younger than me. He always
Oh.
dated older girls because
They're more mature.
exactly. Because I'm like he's like I'm not gonna get like deal with your crap basically. Yeah, which I totally understand. Because like for me, that person needs to be like at least he needs to match my maturity.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I don't care if there are some things you're more immature than me, but
Yeah.
like at least we gotta have like
Yeah.
that dynamic that we can work with.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I'm like I'm not gonna be your mom. Like you gotta figure things out by yourself. You know?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm not gonna baby you. That's the thing.
Here's the thing though. I feel like I'm not sure if this is more like an Asian culture thing, but
Uh-huh.
I feel like the women usually ends up being like the mother in the relationship.
It's kind of like
Mother, like they take care of them. Like they're just more like that.
I don't know. It's for
Is it?
me. Yeah, I mean, I see it that way for some people, but for me, sometimes like in our culture, women are more controlling, and that
Mm.
comes out of fear of like for me.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think there's a lot of like fear surrounding by that,
Yeah.
but who knows? I've seen
don't know.
healthy relationship that are not like that, and I don't know. When people work it out, they work it out, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean like I'm just thinking like I mean it's fine if it works for them,
Right.
right? But like for me I'm just thinking like man, I wonder if it's like an Asian culture thing where like the women are just more motherly. They just kind of care
Right,
in that like
right.
for your needs more of like that's how they love you. That's how
Yeah.
they love their spouse.
It's so funny that you mentioned that
Why?
because I literally just like cooked him like 3 meals yesterday.
But that's your love language. You
I
love
know. I
cooking.
was like, I literally like, so I go see him every Monday,
Uh-huh.
and then usually I cook Monday dinner anyways.
Uh-huh.
So you know, he like we could eat together.
Yeah.
But then I cook 2 more meals.
Yeah.
Because like he's been working out, and like I guess like working out comes with like watching what you eat,
Yeah.
and I think it's just like way cheaper and a lot healthier when
Yeah.
you cook yourself.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, just cook for me. It was like super simple dishes, and
Did you enjoy making it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It
because
was
you
fun.
love doing that already. So it's not like a
yeah.
chore for you. To
It's
do
so
that.
funny because like I always think that like my love language, I know my love language is like verb affirmation and physical
Yeah.
touch, but I know that the way that I give my love to other people is act of service.
Ooh.
Like I love
Yes.
making food for people. I
Me
love
too.
like
But I thought
doing
that was like,
things
can
for
be gifts
people.
too. Is that not gifts?
What do you mean?
Giving you make food for people, right? That's gifts too.
That also yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's like you. Yeah, somebody told me that gift giving is not just like buying a present for someone. It's time you give, or
It's
it's like
true.
something you made for them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like value, like money value.
Yeah.
And so then now I'm like, I do that a lot, which
Mhm.
also I forgot, but I made some dessert
Oh.
for you.
Thanks, butter.
Let me just say that out
So you don't forget.
here. I don't forget. I actually am not just looking for these values in guys, it's looking for these values in friendships too.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like
yes.
I need somebody who's open-minded in friendships because
Yeah.
I'm not the traditional Thai person.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be open-minded because we are open-minded. We had to be open-minded in an international setting.
Right.
So I hope you are open-minded when you see me instead of thinking like, why does she do that? To be more
Yeah.
of like curious of like, hey, like, is that, you know, like,
And I
What-
honestly think
how-
that it's okay to ask questions
yeah.
and like thread lightly, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes some topics are sensitive.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that the whole asking questions and like, because the thing is, a lot of people, a lot of times conversation happens is not just the words that you say, but it is something that is kind of like conveyed through the way they use your language and your body language. Like people can tell by like talking to you how you're feeling about them.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's kind of like that's why I say like when you ask questions, like be nice about it.
I wonder if we know what people feel about us more because we're such anxious people. Do you know what I'm saying?
Let's change the name of this podcast.
Yeah. Anxious people podcast. But because I once talked to someone and I said I like there's this like aura from people, like a vibe and energy that comes out from people. It's like I can sense it, I can smell it. Like no, I'm not gonna like this person. And
Yeah.
99.9% I'm correct.
Yeah.
Something about them is completely off.
Right.
And so I said, like, maybe it's just, my person. They're like, no, yours is the type where like you had to learn to be so careful around people because you're so anxious. So you're like trying to see like you're reading people so much that you're so in tune with it that
Yeah.
you know like I don't think I can do with this
Right.
person, but I can do with this person, or this person's vibe is like good with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
Which is good for things that you have to be careful.
gut feeling. It's a gut feeling.
It is, yeah. I mean, I've had such interesting experience with that too, of like just learning
Right.
people's intentions on things.
I mean, I like have the same values in some ways with friends that I think I would also look for in relationships,
Yeah.
because I also have to guard myself for both.
I get it.
Like
Yeah.
protect too,
definitely.
and also like be careful. There's a lot of risk when you put yourself out there in
Yeah.
any kind of relationship.
It's true. It's true. Anyways, that was our episode about just what we look in, not just spouses but people in general.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like us processing what we look for in how like our upbringings have shaped us into like how we look for things in people
Mhm.
and what we should be careful of.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. I love that like conversation that we just had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A look into how we make friends and relationships,
definitely.
our your future spouse.
Uh-huh. Who you look for when you're dating kind of deal.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways.
Good
I
stuff.
hope-
All
yeah.
good stuff.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode and we'll hopefully see you every Tuesday.
We hopeful.
We
We're
hope,
hopeful.
yes,
We're hopeful.
we're trying, okay?
We're trying. We try
We've
what we
been
can.
struggling, but yes, we are trying to get as many episodes out as we can.
Yep.
And if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments. And if you want to hear anything specific,
Yeah.
I think that would really help us as well.
Yep. All right. See you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.